Observations. A pleasure to have you with us. I have Scott and Kirk with us here today. How are you, fellas?
Good, thank you.
Terrific.
I have a cold.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all right. It happens, so I'm good.
I was bewildered today with the news. You know, we're following this political campaign, and everybody wants to talk now about a Trump Clinton presidential run, and yet last time I checked, the last state to be contested on the Democratic side, and in fact most of the most recent states, has been won by Bernie Sanders, haven't they?
Yes, they have, but don't let things like that get in the way.
Oh, okay. And weren't we being told that there was absolutely no chance whatsoever that Trump would get to the magic number of 1,200 and whatever it was, 37 delegates?
1237, yeah.
Yeah, 1237. That there was just no chance he would ever do that.
Pretty much, they said you could bet on it.
Yeah, I got that wrong, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, and old Ted Cruz makes a deal with the devil and says to Kasich, if you refrain from campaigning in Indiana, then I'll go mano a mano with Trump and we'll whoop him. And he got $6 million worth of outside money, of PAC money, to run negative ads against Trump. I mean, you imagine running $6 million of ads in one state over a 1 week period?
Well, I'd love to be in advertising.
Oh my God! I mean, it would have to be more than half of the ads run during that period of time were to accuse Trump of all manner of things. And so, after spending $6 million, Trump spends $900,000. They spent $6 million trouncing Trump. And he has this deal with the devil. I'm going to go up against him all by myself because the Lord told me that's the way. Of course, he has introduced his mother as the prayer warrior, and she's such a warrior she can hardly walk. She's just bent over and crippled.
It was a rough war.
It was a rough war. and he gets trounced. And so he says we gave it all we got. And he's the only presidential candidate ever to nominate a vice presidential candidate, a running mate, after having struck the iceberg. It's like, the Titanic, Captain Smith thing. That would be a good time to get a first officer.
On my next voyage, we're going to do this differently.
Any candidates that want to go down with me?
On my next voyage, we're going to do this one differently.
And Fiona was so desperate, she actually said, "Oh, sure, I'm going to go down with you. Why not? I'm desperate for attention." And so they would withdraw from the race, and that leaves John Kasich. Now, John Kasich happens to be the only person in human history to come in fourth in a two-man race. It was now a two-man race, and he was in fourth position. So he comes out the next day and says he's going to withdraw too because the Lord has something special for him, but he doesn't know what the Lord has for him because it was the Lord that told him that he should run, and now that he got his wires crossed, he's wondering what the Lord has in mind for him.
Their Lord sure.
Right here, I need to say, Hosea 16. What it says, Yahweh shall not refer to me. You shall refer to him as an individual. The Lord ever again.
Don't ever call me the Lord again. Ever.
I will remove the Lord's name out.
Yeah. Now, it is interesting, however, that the Trumpster, who was pretty subdued about the whole thing, he's interviewed by Wolf Blitzer of CNN the following day in his office. So Wolf gets to ride up the big escalator to the top of Trump Tower. And there he is interviewing Trump. And, he said, people have been in politics all their lives and they can't pull off this kind of a victory. As a matter of fact, old Trumpster, that's not what he called him, but but he was actually happy to be up there. He said, that you ran against the deepest and most credible field the Republican Party has ever mustered for president. I mean, there were multiple senators, multiple governors, some of the most acclaimed people in the Republican Party. It never had a deeper or broader cast of characters, 17 of them. And you blew them all away. You know, how is that even possible that a neophyte, a guy that's never been in politics, would do that? Now, Trump didn't have an answer, but I'm going to provide you with one. The best in America don't engage in politics. The worst in America engage in politics. The best in America don't teach. The best in America don't preach. The best in America don't go off to war and play soldier. You know what the best in America do? The most capable, the most devoted, the smartest, and the most effective people in America, what do they do?
Well, outside of the covenant group, they work hard.
Yeah, they engage in business.
They engage, yeah.
They engage in business.
Mm-hmm.
They build things.
Mm-hmm.
They engage in business. They create value. The reason that Trump, who stumbled all over his tongue, who said some really stupid stuff and some stuff that was smart, but he didn't know how to back it up, prevailed over a whole menagerie of politicians, is because he was the lone businessman in the group.
Mm-hmm.
America's best. Engage in business. The very thing that politicians, you got Bernie Sanders out there saying it's not fair that the richest 1%, they're getting 90% of the increase in wealth in America. Well, you better clone what they're doing then, pal.
Yeah. Why not copy them?
You need to find out what they're doing that's working and get other people to do it. A man that's never had a job in his life, but he's going to tell you how to run the economy. I mean, it's just so amazing that people don't get it.
Well, you saw where Hillary was talking about into the coal miners.
Oh yeah.
And the thing that I took away from that, what she offered at the end was, I know your jobs are being lost.
Because of politicians like me in the administration that I worked in, that shut it down. The administration I worked for shut you down. That's why you don't have a job.
But she said, but I'm willing to send y'all over $30 billion, to ease the pain. And I'm thinking, think about that just a minute. I mean, number one, you wipe them out and then you pay them off.
Right.
You pay them off with money that you had to borrow.
Right. Yeah, and that makes them dependent.
Who worked it on the mines to begin with, and all the people that had to come on.
Yeah. And then you have Paul Ryan comes out yesterday, and he says, "No, I'm not going to endorse Donald Trump. Not ready for that. I won't endorse Donald Trump unless he can show me that he can unify the party, that he can run on the principles that we all stand for."
Right.
That he could honor the party of Lincoln, and Lincoln was as much a Republican as John Kennedy was a Republican. And the party of Reagan, they just have this love affair with Reagan. I mean, the man that had seances in the White House and consulted astrologers, but they're all in love with Reagan. And Jack Kemp, that was the third person. Now, Jack Kemp was a decent quarterback, but as a politician, he was a flop.
One of these things is not like the other, but I love that they always point to Lincoln, the party of Lincoln. Okay, you do not want to be the party of Lincoln.
No, you don't.
Shattering Myths, we went through that whole thing.
Oh, man, how everything about Lincoln is a fraud. The guy was a repulsive racist. And it was his mismanagement of the country that led to 650,000 Americans losing their lives, devastating the South.
Well, he brought the personal income tax. He had to borrow. He couldn't get a loan, so he floated dollars for the first time against the Constitution, says you can't have paper money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
he was
that and had to pay that off. And I got to the debt.
Right, to claim Lincoln, you'd have to be a nincompoop. And this is the same guy, Paul Ryan, that, now, he's the majority leader of the, not majority leader, he's Speaker of the House. And so until about a day ago, he was the head of the Republican Party, de facto head. Now the de facto head of the Republican Party is Donald Trump, as the presumptive nominee of the party. And so he's having a little tizzy fit. When Trump said, you know, there's a problem with Muslims, and we need to have a period of time where we force all Muslims coming into the country until we can figure out what this problem is. Now, what he should have said is 99% of all terror attacks are perpetrated by Muslims. And since they're all doing so, screaming Allahu Akbar, confessing to the crime, and there's no confusion whatsoever that it's Muslims who are promoting and claiming and perpetrating 99% of the world's terrorist acts, there is a serious problem that the world wants to deny. And if I am President of the United States, I am not going to shirk my responsibility and have Americans be more vulnerable to those who commit 99% of the world's terrorist acts. If you're a Muslim and you don't like that, then you need to figure out a way to keep fellow Muslims from perpetrating 99% of the world's terrorist acts. When Muslims perpetrate 25% of the world's terrorist acts, then we can have a conversation. But between now and then, no more.
Yeah.
That's all he had to say. But when he said that, Ryan said, oh, that's not Republican. That's not conservatism. It's unconstitutional. It's not unconstitutional to say who and who cannot come into the country.
Why can't you say who can come into the country?
Yeah, he didn't say you can't be a Muslim anymore in America.
No.
He just said, if you're a Muslim, we're not going to process your application to come into this country.
And why is that so bad? Hey, let me ask you this. Craig, are you allowed to go to Canada?
If I do, I'm going to be arrested.
Okay. Why?
Because I told the truth about Islam. I quoted from the Quran and Hadith, and Canada is one of those countries that has a law against telling the truth if the truth hurts people's feelings.
Okay. And if you get a DUI in America, are you allowed to move to Canada?
No.
You are not?
No.
So how is that?
Right.
And you get a DUI, you made a choice. If you're a Muslim, you made a choice.
You made a choice. Yeah, I was in a store today, and there was this older woman dressed in Islamic gear shopping in the women's department with my wife, and I'm not really into that sort of thing, but I am into my wife, and she wanted to buy some clothes for my daughter-in-law, so I was a good husband. After lunch, I walked with her and said, yep, that looks good. No, not my favorite. And, that was a fun experience. But Muslim was, covered head to toe in religious dress up. And I just snarled at her. And you say, how in the world can you be so stupid that you'd play religious dress up at the advice of a man who treated women so poorly he was a pedophile and a rapist? You're out of your ever-loving mind?
You go even further. It's not like it's a hotbed for women's rights over there right now.
Why would you identify yourself with a religion that commits 99% of the world's terrorist acts? I just don't get it. But can you imagine the times that we live in now and just how stunningly weird, so despicable, bizarre?
We talk about it all the time at home. I don't know what. I know all this is happening. I know what Yahowah said would happen. It's just to watch it.
Right.
It's unbelievable. It's just like, y'all are totally insane. And then.
Yeah. And to see the two political parties in America literally dissolve before our eyes. I mean, you've got on the Democratic side. Now, I'm not talking about its destruction, but you've got a guy that's actually hammering a party favorite, beating her, state after state, who's a communist. And he's not even a Democrat. He is, he's a communist, and he is promoting nothing but class warfare and hatred of those who are productive. And he should be scaring Americans, because the vast preponderance of those under 40 are voting for him.
Oh, yeah.
Which tells you it's just a matter of time between now and the time that the majority of Americans will favor socialism, robbing the productive to create a dependent lifestyle for the unproductive.
When Russia did that, though, there was the United States and Europe who would send them wheat for
right,
and then forgive the debt.
Right. Yeah, and build their factories so they can make war equipment to kill our soldiers. Yes, and yet still 40 million Russians died in the first 20 years of the experiment. When China decided they were going to experiment with the communism, 40 million people died in the first 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cambodia decided it was going to do the same thing. 1 out of every 3 people died. Most of them tortured.
And there was over 1.5 million killed in Laos, and nobody ever talked about that one.
Right.
We're just insane.
Yeah, it's just utterly insane. The communists were so compassionate in Vietnam that if you didn't side with them, they would cut off your arm. They would hack you to death.
For a farming community, that's if you survive, you're dead. It just
gosh, I mean, we are in a time where people are just absolutely incapable of thinking. It's either that they do not have a functional soma, they don't exercise it, and therefore it is atrophied, or they have or don't have one. I don't know what the issue is, but we have reached a period of time where it is just absolutely stunning.
Well, Roy keeps telling me they just don't have an asoma, and I'm absolutely about on his side completely now. I think it's dead. It may have one, but it ain't working.
No. As a matter of fact, on the 7th chapter of Observations for Our Time, it's a chapter I've completed. I'm right now in the midst of reordering it. Our good friend IQ, al-Rassooli, and I were corresponding this week, and he asked me to send him some of the things I was currently writing, and as he was trying to read it, he was struggling with understanding it, and he had asked me to, he says, the style that you had in Prophet of Doom, where you'd present the verse and then you would just systematically rip it apart. He says, I don't have that here, so I don't have anything to grip onto, so it's really hard for me to follow. Now, I understand that this book was written for people who have read your other books probably multiple times and have grown through this process over a decade, and I'm trying to jump into the middle of, your, whatever it is, 17th, 18th book. But I'm having a tough time understanding this. And so I decided that I would take the format that I've been using, which is to write a quick summary of what we had just reviewed at the end of each section, and take that summary, remove the Hebrew words from it, and bring it forward. So I would introduce, this is the next area of discussion from Yahowah. Here it is in just kind of one big gulp.
Right.
And with a minimal amount of amplification, but translated as accurately as I'm capable, but not painstakingly literal so as to make it difficult reading. So a little bit more relaxed in terms of the conversion from Hebrew to English grammar.
Yes.
And a little less amplified without the distraction of the Hebrew and nothing in the parenthetical. And here it is, 5, 6, 7, whatever, 8, whatever number of verses we're going to dissect here, present it first, and then systematically dissect them one at a time. And so, anyway, I sent it off to him, and I'm now rewriting. I've rewritten 5, which we're in the midst of right now, 6, and I'm rewriting 7 to that new style. But
it works. I've been sitting here reading it, and it's absolutely. I'm sure first timers, it's so much easier.
It's so much easier. So if it's easy, I'm doing it because there's people because prophecy and the plight we're in today is more interesting to more people than anything else. So we're going to have people that are going to jump in with Observations for Our Time as soon as it's posted, and so we've got to make a transition so they come up to speed, because I can't go back and write like I did a decade ago. I know too much more now. So I can't go back and write like I did a decade ago, and I can't for those of us who have made it through this whole process. I can't go about and re-explain every term, because then it wouldn't be interesting to those of us who are trying to grow from where we currently are. But this is a nice compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Putting
people have been talking about that recently on how and they pretty well concluded what you've just concluded, and so I know it's going to find a lot of happy people when they see it.
Yeah, I think it. I'm convinced it's a better way to go, and I've gotten some feedback from like Doe down in New Zealand has examined it and sent back IQ. I've sent him chapters. Oh yeah, this is so much easier. He says now I'm really going to invest the time to read through this to understand it. But I went there because of the fact that at the end of the 7th chapter, Roy and I devoted about what turned out to be 5-6 pages just to the Nesama, how it relates to our nefesh soul, how it works, how we get it, what cripples it, and so it's at the end of the chapter. There's a very thorough review, and I set the Nesama because the Nesama, I didn't know this, but you know that Nesama comes up at towards the end of the 2nd chapter of Yahowah. And God is asking us to avoid people whose Nesama is off, APH. And and understanding what off is, because he's saying you need to reject, you need to distance yourself. If you want to survive, you have to distance yourself from people whose Nesama is off. And if you look up off, it's you'll read things like wheretofore and therewith, or something of that kind. Sometimes they say it's a word of negation, and you say, no. This won't work as a definition. God is telling, Nesama is a good thing. He's telling us to stay away from a people whose Nesama is associated with Amph. I need to figure what that is.
Yeah.
You know what the first word that Satan said to Yahowah?
Don't fill me in.
Amph. So as I'm trying to define this word, I said, this is an opportunity that I don't care how many hours it takes. I got to figure out what this word means. The first time it's used, it's the first word.
Well, if I was looking up the English word to get back to the Hebrew
you'd read
word,
something like nonetheless.
Okay, nonetheless.
Yeah, if you're reading it in an English Bible translation, and of course you wouldn't. Nesama wouldn't be conscience. It would be something like breath of life. Nonetheless, the breath of life. That kind of thing. But God has told you to stay away from these things. So I had to figure out what it was, and so I looked up and analyzed the word as it appeared the first 7 or 8 times, and yeah, wow. It is someone harboring bitterness that creates hypotheticals that are designed to mislead and estrange others, causing them also to have some resentment. So it exposes Satan's resentment and religious people's resentment to God, and how they created these hypotheticals to cause others to share in their negative views. Mm-hmm. So it's a really interesting term. Anyway, at the end of the chapter, I've got the Nesama, I've got Amph, I've got the tree of life, I've got the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, how souls and Nesamas are passed on scientifically. It's kind of an interesting read for those that want a more scientific approach to what these things are and what they represent. So anyway, that's a long way from where we are right now, because we're still in the midst of the chapter 5, which is the whore of religion. And I'd like to backtrack from where we ended our Shabbat program. We were in the midst of revealing, because we went through Proverbs 14 through about 20
or 19.
Yeah, 14 through 19. We went through them if they were in Yahweh's voice, and it was ridiculous. There's a 0% possibility that they're in Yahweh's voice.
Yeah.
And then we went through them in the whore's voice, in Satan's voice.
Right.
And there are really some interesting insights when it's seen that way. And it's obvious that way because God is talking about how the whore solicits followers, how the whore goes about confusing people, misleading them. And so I want to start there again. It's Proverbs 7:14, translated from the whore's, in the whore's voice. It says, "The sacrifice of being killed as a peace offering to finish and fulfill the promise of fellowship was provided by me, the Almighty, the one day I fulfilled and completed, and therefore finished once and for all my vows." I read that and my skin just crawls. It causes my guts to turn. And you might say, well, why?
Because of much of...
Yeah, well, it's because of the way that Satan has woven a lie into religion, particularly Christianity, that is extremely difficult for most people to spot, and yet is absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
And that God told us the specific lie that Satan would use. The basis of Christianity is that God died for your sins. Man killed God. You know, if a Jewish school plays a Catholic school, the Catholics will yell at them that they were killers of Jesus.
You killed Jesus.
Yeah. Now, as a matter of fact, the Jews couldn't do that. In fact, everything that Paul says about his orders from the high priest to go out and kill the followers of the way, and that he was doing it all over Israel, but now he was going outside of Israel to do it. They didn't have authority in Jerusalem, much less all over Israel, much less in any country, to do anything of the sort. They didn't have the authority to kill Yahowah.
Yeah, they had to send him back and forth.
I had to send him to the Roman governor, the only person that could offer a death sentence. I mean, it is woven right into the story in the goddamn Christian New Testament. And yet, when Paul says that he was assigned that task, Christians aren't smart enough to say, wait a minute, how was it that the Jews had to send him to Pontius Pilate, and yet Paul was able, on their authority, to go out and kill anybody they wanted?
Because they never read the Torah.
Of course, you don't even have to read the Torah. You just have to read your own book.
Yeah, and say that. Why did they send him?
And put it together, and you'd say, oh, yeah, somebody's lying here. Anyway, the thing that causes me such grief here is that the basis of Christianity is that God was killed. Now, you don't have much of a God if man can kill him. That God was killed as a peace offering to have this great love fest and to resolve your sins. And it's all occurred on one day. You know, hold up your cross, the implement of death that was used to kill God. Now, God can't be killed, folks. A God who can be killed by man isn't a God anyway. God cannot be killed. He cannot die. He did not die. He will not die. God is spirit, which is akin to light. You can't kill light.
No, can't even kill Satan.
Can't even kill Satan. You know, there's a reason that God created the Sheol as a black hole to imprison Satan. There's a reason he tells you that he's going to imprison him for all time, because he can't kill him. You can't kill a spirit. And of course, your own book, if you're a Christian, tells you that the spirit left him. So you only had a soul and a body there. Only had a soul and a body. And the body died.
And the soul lived.
But the soul had already, but the spirit had already left. And so what was God left him. He only had a body there. God didn't die, a body died. Just like the Passover lamb.
Just like the Passover lamb.
Nothing more. And the soul, which is really the sign of life within a body, that soul not only left and went into Sheol on the Shabbat, but it's that soul that was reunited with the Spirit on Bikurim to celebrate firstborn children.
Which explains an awful lot about that day, that event.
Right. The soul didn't die. The body died. And God most certainly didn't. Yes, this notion is the basis of Christianity, that God died for your sins.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this says. The sacrifice of being killed as a peace offering. Now, what are the chances of that being in God's voice? Hey, the sacrifice of being killed as a peace offering from me were provided by me, the Almighty.
From me, by me, to me.
Yeah, that I died. That's what happened. Yep, that was
So
my
what
peace
happened to
offering.
you
Is that I died? God died. Yeah.
Can't happen.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a seven-dimensional construct.
Yeah.
We're in a 3.5-dimensional realm here on this rock we call Earth. How would you even get all of God here to kill him?
Yeah.
And by the way, where was the Spirit when they killed him?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for a voice to say, "I'm the Almighty," and I died. That was my sacrifice. Was I died?
Probably why Shavuot.
You're not only dealing with the whore, but you've got the whore laying down the very foundation of Christianity. The fulcrum upon which Christianity is based is prophetically revealed here 1,400 years before Theodosius would impose the religion on the world.
So it must be, if Billy Graham says it 100,000 times and all the priests say it 100,000 times, it just becomes true.
God died for your sins. Come forward and accept the gift. Death is a gift, huh? It's just pathetic. But anyway, this is not just in Satan's voice. This explains Christianity. And of course, who's making the claim? Satan. And what is Satan calling himself? Is he saying, hey, my goal is to be worshipped as God, and so since I'm the adversary, worship me as Satan?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No.
Right.
That's who he is, but that ain't what he's saying.
That's right. He's saying, yeah, but I'm the Lord. I'm God. I want you to worship me as God. So what is this Spirit who died as a peace offering? What is it? What provided by me? The what?
Well, does
the Almighty.
Does that not explain why every name has to, every time Yahweh has his name 7,000 times, it has to be changed to Lord?
Yeah, of course.
And every Yashayahu
of course.
has to be changed to Isaiah?
Because 100% of the minions who work for Christian publishing companies are employed by the Lord.
Right. Who other customer can they have?
That's right. So not only does this say that the Almighty claims to have died as a peace offering, and that he is presenting himself, the whore is presenting himself, Satan, as the Almighty, he says the one day. Now you were telling me that your wife was Terry was saying, Christians know that something happened on the Saturday. They know that his soul didn't die because in the Apostles' Creed, which has, by the way, nothing to do with the Apostles, has everything to do with Constantine's desire to incorporate Christianity and coordinate it with Mithraism, so that they could all be one happy religious family together. Constantine never converted to Christianity. He never saw the sign of the cross emblazoned in the sun. It's all a complete and utter myth. And he was a worshiper of Mithras, the inconquerable sun. And the edict of Milan that he promoted did not establish Christianity, didn't legalize Christianity. It just amalgamized Christianity into Mithraism. Mm-hmm. It was Theodosius who not only legalized Christianity, he made it the only religion that could be practiced without severe consequence. Now, imposed the feudal system, by the way, of lord serf right along with it. But you say, you know, in the Apostles...
Doesn't that also destroy the myth that Christians keep talking about how they all were persecuted because they're not persecuted at that point?
No. There was no such thing as Christian persecution.
I know.
Yeah, the whole thing is a myth. Now, there's a lot of Christians that died, but they killed themselves. And in fact, the Roman archives of what occurred as they kept records, they all say, you know, that the Roman leaders would say, you know, here, we'll give you the rope if you want to go hang yourself. We'll point you in the direction of the nearest cliff if you want to jump off of it. But don't get upset. We got other things to do. We really got other things to do. If you want to kill yourself to prove your faith, you just go right ahead.
Yeah, go on ahead, pal.
Go right on ahead. You know, were there some Christians probably that were slaughtered by gladiators and then eaten by lions in the Colosseum? Well, yeah, but there was a long line of people eaten by lions and killed by gladiators in the Colosseum.
You caught up in the spectacle.
Yeah, there was Rome, the religion and politics and patriotism of Rome made death a celebration. They loved death, and the more brutal, the better. So the Apostles' Creed, the Christian's parrot, even says on the third day, you know, he said that after he died, that he descended into hell, and on the third day he rose. So they know that his soul didn't die. Even in the Apostles' Creed, they have a conflict, and it points this right out, and it also points out that the big sacrifice wasn't on one day. But that's the whole thing about Christendom. Everything took place on the cross, on Good Friday. That's why it's called Good Friday, and there's nothing else to it. That Easter Sunday, named after the pagan Babylonian goddess, the mother of God, the queen of heaven, the virgin and child, Astarte, later named Ishtar, that Easter is the big celebration of the fact that their God bodily rose from the dead. Well, if he bodily rose from the dead, why is it that all four accounts of what occurred that day show that no one recognized him? The absolute antithesis of a bodily resurrection. Moreover, why would he tell his mother, hey, don't touch me? How would he walk through walls? How did he teleport from there to heaven, then come back and end up like 60 miles down the way on the road to Emmaus, and then have dinner with those fellows, and then you come right back through and enter Jerusalem, and no jets at that time, no helicopters, and have dinner with the boys in the upper room.
Right.
Going right through the wall, not bothering with the doorway. I mean, come on, folks.
To do that.
It's all there for you. This is Satan's ruse, the sacrifice of being killed as a peace offering to fulfill the promise of fellowship provided by me, the Almighty. The one day I fulfilled and completed and therefore finished once and for all my vows. You know, there isn't a theologian on the planet that isn't aware of the fact that the first four Moed Mikra have been fulfilled. Mm-hmm. They know that Yahshua was the Passover lamb, that he observed Passover.
Right.
They know that there's some connection with the matzah, and which is unyeasted bread, and that journey down to hell with his soul. And they know there's a connection between Bikurim, firstborn children, and Yahshua being the first child of God to enter heaven. They all know that, and they absolutely know
Pentecost.
That there is a correlation between Pentecost, which means 50, and Shabuah, which is the 7 times 7 plus 1, the promise of the Shabbat. When they think that their church was created, and there's no such thing. God doesn't have a church, and he didn't say anything of the like. But they know that's the fourth one. And so they know that those four happen, and there isn't an eschatologist on the planet in Christendom that hasn't put the trumpets of trumpets together with trumpets and knows that that Moed Mikre has not yet been fulfilled?
Mm-hmm. Well, they talk about it.
They talk about it all the time.
He's coming back in the fall.
So they know it hasn't been fulfilled. And if it hasn't been fulfilled, then they sure as hell know that reconciliations hasn't been fulfilled. And because, you know, the reconciliations is explained in Yirmiyah 31 when Yisrael and Yehudah are reconciled one with another and with Yahowah. They know it's not fulfilled. And they know that we're not all living with God on this planet on Sukkah. We haven't pitched our tents with God in Jerusalem. So they know that there are 3 of them that have not been fulfilled, and this says, I fulfilled them all. Why? Because from the Christian point of view, there's only one worth considering. Good Friday.
Right.
Which, by the way, did not follow Passover. It followed the Last Supper. So this is, this is absolutely,
never mind.
Yeah, for this reason, for the one day, for this reason, to die, I came out to approach and to meet you, calling out to you, longing to darken your presence. And I have found you, attaining control over you, possessing you. Masa. Masa. Possessing you. Controlling you. Has God ever said, hey, you know, I've got complete control here. I am possessing and I am in control of everyone.
Everything is volitional. Once you get that concept, and you get on the concept that he is a fallen, not a Lord, then all that goes out the window.
Yeah. Do you find any place where God says, you know, I'm looking for you? I'm out looking for you. Or do you find instead, you know, it's probably in your interest to look for me?
Yeah. If you do, he'll come find you.
All right.
He'll meet you halfway.
The whole purpose of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms is because it points the way to his home.
Right.
It provides the way to know him. If you want to find Yahowah, read the Torah.
Yeah, he's put enough signposts out there that
you
know where to go find
betcha. You betcha. But this has the speaker looking to find us rather than for us to find God. He's the creator of the universe, author of life. Do you think he misplaced us? Do you think he's lost track of the big universe and lost track of the planet? Oh, my God, where did I put them? Oh, thank goodness, I found them. They're on the 3rd rock from the sun over there in the Milky Way galaxy. Whew. Wow. I was close, but I am so glad I found them. No. But you know who did find them? Satan certainly found Paul, didn't he?
And he found him on the road to Damascus.
Yeah, he found Hadrian. He found Muhammad. Yeah, he found Muhammad. He found Rabbi Akiba. He found Maimonides. He found who he needed to find.
Yeah. Well, you know, even if you read, I've read accounts of Hitler when he was a young man. By his best friend at the time in Austria. He had that same experience before the spear of destiny, as they call it. And, you know, so yeah, he described it as that guy got possessed right there. He worshipped it.
Wow. Yeah, I think that the argument can be made that Hitler was possessed by the same spirit. And the reason that the argument can be made is that if Hitler's atrocities were perpetrated, by percentage anyway, at the world at large to the same degree they were perpetrated towards the chosen people, had he originally followed his Zionist ideas, he wanted to export Jews to Israel. And to steal their property, but export them to Israel. It was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem who persuaded him, no, don't, just kill him. Work him to death and then kill him. But because a disproportionate number of those that he killed were Jews, And this particular demon is Jew thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
Then, because you look at Paul hated the Jews. You look at Hadrian hated Jews. You look at well, yeah, I'm not going to say for certain that those guys were possessed by him, but absolutely Muhammad.
Yeah,
but absolutely,
they certainly had the same.
But you look at Muhammad, anti-Jew, and Hitler. So there is a tie in there, and it could well be the same. Probably is the same demon. So for this reason, I came out to approach you, calling out to you, longing to darken your presence. La Shakar Pene. You know what Satan's last name is?
Shakar.
Shakar. Yeah, there you go.
Shakar.
Yep. And I have found you, attaining control over you, possessing you. Yep, that's just another little teaser there for those who were looking for insights into who we're talking about. So then it says, I have blanketed covers. Oh, Satan is all about covering over on my bed, cutting the dark-hued and elaborate fabrics of possessed and ghostly fibers to bind. Bind is the term that serves as the basis of religion, to rebind, out of the crucibles of human religious oppression. I brought them out of Egypt. The crucibles of religious oppression. That's where I got these fabrics. That's where I got the ideas that I'm going to weave into this. Right. Now, what follows, of course, is lovemaking. Now, can you imagine God saying, you know what we're going to do? You are my children. So in an act of incest and pedophilia, because I am a couple of years older than you are, in an act of incest and pedophilia, I am going to have sex with you, make love to you on my bed.
Yeah, creepy sexual connotations. No.
No. I mean, hell no.
Besides the fact that the spirit can't,
the spirit doesn't sleep.
Argument from,
spirit doesn't sleep.
Their spirits don't reproduce.
No, spirits don't reproduce. They don't have sex, and they don't sleep. Sorry. So I have I have blanketed my bed, covering over my bed, cutting dark-hued and elaborate fabrics, processed of ghostly fibers to bind, which is the basis of religion, out of the crucibles of human religious oppression. It is, this lure. You look at Islam. What is the reward in Islam?
What is the virgins or the...
Yeah, and where are you going to conquer the virgins? Yeah, where are you going to conquer the virgins? On a bed, right? Gotta have. Yeah, so this whole bed thing is the reward of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's this lovemaking is the basis of Christianity, where they have their agape love fests. It's the Christian God is all loving.
It's even sicker than you think, isn't it?
It is. It's really sicker than you think. This is really twisted stuff. I have besprinkled my bed with myrrh and aloes and cinnamon. Myrrh is an Arabian gum, probably symbol of Islam. Aloe is a byproduct of an Indian tree, probably symbolic of Hinduism. And cinnamon is a borrowed word from the Chinese, and probably speaking of Confucianism and Buddhism. But do you think that God created heaven such that it has a stench?
No, I don't think it needs any cinnamon to
spice it up. Do you think that it's going to be so boring you need to spice it up?
I think so.
Do you think it's going to be infected and we need to fumigate it?
Around for a few eons.
I just don't think so. I don't think so. But to create a smell that perfume, a fragrance, a incense that hides the stench of hell.
Well, that's my research. That's what the cinnamon was for.
Yeah.
Strong fragrance to cover the stench, stench. Yeah. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
The words tell the story. If
They sure
do anything else, you can look up the words. And, that's what it says.
I want you to choose to continually walk this way, living like this, for us to fully experience being lovers until the morning.
One night stand with your God.
A one-night stand with your spirit friend. Enjoying one another's company, reveling in the pleasures of lovemaking. Okay. Now, she's trying to present the allure of the whore. Because, the whore is the whore of Babylon, the mother of all harlots, the queen of heaven, the mother of God, the virgin and child, Astarte, the basis of Easter. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here is how she flirts, how she positions herself. Yeah, you're going to feel good about it. Oh, yeah, how many Christians say, I just feel good about going to the church service. Look how it's improved my life, and I just feel good when I go there. There's so many good people there. We can fully experience being lovers until the morning.
Until
the morning. Yeah, okay. So then this is where we go from there. And that doesn't matter whose voice this is in, it's just reality of all that. However, it is for naught. So in other words, every one of the whore's promises, the whore's pretense of love, it's all for naught. Because the man isn't in his home. He has walked on a path that is far away and is now estranged. Now, it's interesting here. Paul, did he go back home, or did he end his life a long, long way away?
He hit the road.
Hit the road. In fact, he died in Rome, didn't he? He died as far away from his home as he could possibly be. Died in Rome.
I was thinking about this, and Yah would never ask us. He asked us to get on a path that leads to home. Paul goes on the road to the Goyim, and there's nothing wrong with telling the story to the Goyim, but they didn't need to go anywhere to tell up to the Goyim.
Nope, that is correct.
And he didn't take the road and go tell this to all. That's another message.
The book of Yirmiyah, do you know who it was written to?
Oh, was it to the Goyim?
That's correct. Where was it written? Where was
there?
Yeah, it was written in Jerusalem, wasn't it?
So
it was written in Jerusalem, and yet it was devoted to the Goyim. So God can speak to Goyim.
I mean, you can go the world right there.
Yeah, God can talk to all of us in Jerusalem. Did Yahusha ever leave Israel?
No.
Did he ever leave Yehuda?
No.
No. No, so it's
run off up somewhere and Greece and tell these people about this.
But this also tells somebody, if you are flirting with a prostitute, and you spend night after night just into the morning with the prostitute, and are you going to, after you've spent the night and up to the point of morning with a prostitute, are you going to come home to Terry and say, hey, you had a really good time last night. Glad you weren't there. And she said, are you going to come home after that? No. So by flirting with the prostitute, you've destroyed your opportunity to go home.
You've destroyed your marriage.
Yeah, you have. So the very thing that Yahweh set up as a model, to model his covenant, you've destroyed.
Right.
And you've also destroyed your whole perspective on what God is offering by flirting with this whore, which is all part of this.
It's more than flirting. This is a marriage vow with her.
Yeah, it's a marriage vow with her. Yep. Yeah. He grasped hold of and took the pouch of money with him in his hand. During the approach of the day of the full moon, when he will enter his home. Now,
money bag.
Yeah. Now, is he going to enter Yahweh's home?
No. Yahweh didn't send you out to be collecting. I think even the Christians who read Yahusha said don't take a begging bag like the priests do.
Right. So he's talking about an individual that that monetarily profited by their association with the whore, with Satan.
Well, look at the good works he was doing.
Look at Paul, man. Yeah, Paul said he robbed churches that he was deserving of pay. And you look at Muhammad, and he took 20% of what his goons stole.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the founders of Christianity, guys like Theodosius, and you look at how they profited.
Mm-hmm. It is a great money-making scheme.
It is. You look at guys like Benny Hinn, and the faith healer, and the amount of money that he makes.
Yeah.
You look at the radio, television evangelists and the lifestyle they lead.
Look at any of these mega churches. I don't see how they can fill up. I guess it's power of positive thinking type of sermons. But how do you get 5,000 or 6,000 people? That's unbelievable.
Now he's going to enter his home on the day of the full moon, which means he's going to his home, not Yahowah's home, on Sukkah. The day of the full moon is Sukkah. So on Sukkah, he ain't coming into Yahowah's home. On Pesach is full moon. He's not entering the door of Yahowah's home on Pesach. And of course, then from the Islamic point of view, you have the Battle of Badr, Battle of the Full Moon. I mean, Badr is the full moon, so it's the Battle of the Full Moon.
First time they robbed a caravan or something?
Yeah, it's the first official act in the Islamic era. Muhammad goes off for the express purpose of robbing a business caravan, and went against a defenseless group of businessmen, and murdered some, enslaved some, tortured some, murdered others, kidnapped some. And the Quran's 8th surah details the whole thing, and even says that Muhammad's purpose was to rob the caravan as a thief. Islam was started as a criminal enterprise. So this is really indicative also of Islam.
Islam.
But there is really no difference between the spirit that possessed Paul and the spirit that possessed Muhammad. Same spirit.
Nobody stole more money than the church.
She guides him and persuades him to reach out with the magnitude of her persuasive words and with her smooth and seductive lips, and thus with language she compels him. I don't find anywhere where Yahowah is trying to persuade us. I see him
encourages us,
finding all the information in the world for our benefit. A friend of mine who listens to this program fairly often has a good friend that he's trying to persuade to accept the covenant, who is still clinging to the myth of Pauline Christianity. And he likes this individual, so he's really trying to persuade him. And you don't want to squelch his passion and enthusiasm, but I have never successfully persuaded anybody as it relates to Yahowah. There aren't words to do it.
I can name 100 failures.
Yeah. If you're what you can do is, if somebody wants to know the truth, if they're willing to go where the evidence leads, if they're willing to let go of lies, if they're genuinely interested and willing to invest the time, you absolutely can lead them to the truth, and the truth will convince them.
Yes.
And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the world now that we have witnessed that experience. But it's all you can do is make the truth known, expose and condemn the lies, and then see where they go with it. Don't prod them, don't badger them, don't try to persuade them. God doesn't do those things.
I haven't met too many people that are in the family who haven't come of their own volition, just wanting to know. I mean, they heard some things, yes, but it wasn't like somebody was twisting their arm or calm down the arm.
Well, let me give a great example. When Yahowah realized that he had to provide Adam with the opportunity to reject him, And it had to be a rejection based upon he just didn't want to spend the time with him, because so he created Yahowah so you'd have someone to keep him from being lonely if he were to choose not God. And he presented the tree of the perception of that which is good and bad. The tree of discernment is that option. Did he ever beg Adam and say, I beg you, don't do this. I need you so badly, I beg you not to do it?
Oh,
to try to persuade him?
Volition.
It's right.